Welcome back to the Football Fitness Federation podcast. This is episode 268. I'm delighted to be joined on the podcast today. Rickard Engstrom, how are we doing?
Very good. And very, very nice pronunciation of my name also.
Well, we just spoke about this. It wasn't, but we'll accept it.
I'll let it slide. Okay.
No,
I'm good. First of all, thanks a lot for having me. It's an absolute honor to be on the podcast. Equal measures of terrified and excited. So I think it's going to be a good chat, I think.
No, it definitely will. No, I appreciate you coming on because I know we'll go into your background in a little bit, but in your current role, it's really interesting. And there's no one more fitting than someone who's in a coach education role around football fitness for Football Association, which is the obviously Swedish FA. So it'd be great to dive in. We're going to get into that in a little bit. We just spoke about, just before we started recording, Dr. Sean Cummings' episode, and he referenced some of the work that's going on with the Swedish FA as well. So that is another area that we'll jump into. But let's start on yourself. Let's start on your background. What did that look like and what's led up to your role now?
Yeah, well, keep it short and sharp. I've been in the business for 10 years now, working exclusively in football. I started actually in 2012 with my bachelor's degree in exercise science, and moved on to my master's in 2018, I think, in sports science in Gothenburg. Been working a whole bunch of different levels, from youth with boys, youth, girls, first team in Allsvenskan, our top division, some teams in the second division, bits and pieces all over the place. Right now, like you said, I'm working with the Swedish FA, currently as a coach educator for football fitness, and I work with a club in the third division in the Swedish pyramid as a football fitness coach, assistant coach actually, with my main focus being the fitness aspect of it. So that's in short what I've been doing, and I've also done some for the FA. Also been working with the youth national teams for a few years. So
awesome. What would you say? Give us a little bit of breakdown on the differences between, because we spoke about the UK a lot when we've had different coaches on, but in terms of those differences between the leagues and the standards that you've been involved in, what are the differences for you as a practitioner in terms of like logistics, facilities, the standard of the game?
At club level, you mean? I guess.
Yeah.
Well, some huge differences. Like just comparing to like my current role in the third division to the top division it's a huge difference. There's unique challenges, but also opportunities. Working in a lower level team. The obvious one is the resources, of course. Still, Allsvenskan not being the Premier League, there's the amount of resources you get is incomparable to like in the third division. So everything from the equipment you can use and the facilities you have, it's a world difference. But also like with the opportunities now, there's less pressure maybe to try things and do the things I want to do, which is brilliant because I've been doing this year with the third division team, and it's really elevated me as a practitioner. Mainly also because of the limited resources that you have to. It's become like a class in how to keep things as simple as possible. And if I'm gonna work in a higher division in the future, that's what I'm gonna bring with me. Just do simple stuff. Make sure you do the basics right, and the basics work, man. They really do. And yeah, so you learn stuff from at every level. And I appreciated my time with the third division team, Oskarshamns AIK, they're called, this year. Working in different environments in terms of academy versus first team. Obviously, less pressure. Also, academy, you can work with with the players for for longer periods of time, you can it's not so much focus on results, and you know, so you can learn stuff at each level, and every level I've taken is always come with unique challenges and evolved me as a practitioner, I think.
Your journey is an interesting one, isn't it? Going to that point of getting to the top division and then now working in the third division, obviously with everything else you've got going on as well. But there's important lessons in there as well, isn't there? Because like you said, you would have probably had more resources in other roles. But in terms of an actual practitioner and testing you in the applied world, you're probably being challenged a lot more now in terms of creativity and innovation within this role. So how do you pass that in terms of that experience for yourself onto other coaches that you'd come across in terms of building this toolbox that you're developing?
Yeah, it's a good insight, because I think in my current role as a coach educator, just having like the experience of working at top level, you don't really like, you can put yourself in the shoes of coaches at lower levels. So resource is always going to be it's going to be a hindrance, but you need to find, instead of just complaining about I can't do this, I can't do that, you need to find ways around it. And like I said, you can do basic things really well with small amounts of resources. You just need to be creative, like adhere to the main like core training principles, and do be smart about how you plan and do stuff. So it definitely helped me. Also, like I have more responsibility now because I'm an assistant coach. I can do, I don't just do like the warm up and the top ups. I can design whole sessions, because like the head coach trusts me to do that. And you learn so much from that. Like because I have a UFB license also, so I'm not a football coach per se. I will never be a head coach, but one of my strongest core principles is like you need to integrate stuff, and you need to put football first. So that's, and we're gonna probably get into that when we get to the coach education stuff as well. But that's like the best session. And also, like, funny enough, like when I was at Helsingborgs IF was the team I work with in Allsvenskan. Like the best sessions I had was the sessions on game day with the guys who didn't get selected. It was their worst, absolutely, like they don't want to be there. I loved those sessions because it was just me, and like we had pretty good big squad, so we could have like 5-6 players.
Yeah.
And I could sign everything from the prep to the passing exercise. Yeah, you know, every step of the way, like an hour of training, and everything was integrated. We did specific things for their position, but always like this has a specific physical outcome, regardless if it's a passing exercise or a finishing exercise or whatever. Those were best sessions I've had, and yeah, I'm rambling. I don't know what I was going to talk about, but
no, I think just on that point though, when you talk about integration and football coming first, I think there's no more time where you've got a group of players that are essentially going to be pretty low in morale, aren't they? If they've been left out of a match day squad, it's probably the last time they want to be split up and sent out to do any sort of running drills or whatever it is. So the need, I suppose, for like integration at that point is probably the highest, isn't it? To try and develop any sort of buy-in that you can from players that are in that mindset.
100%. Yeah, and always like you can do top ups for the guys, but preferably you want them back on the field so you can do specific stuff and stuff that they enjoy, and like just being able to compete and play, like have fun. They can laugh. They can yeah, just compete. That's what they want to do, and it helps you so much as a practitioner. You get so much for free when you have like a competitive edge to training as well, even if it's just I was doing this. It's not the best thing to do on a podcast.
Air quotes for anyone listening.
Yeah, air quotes. Yeah, it's yeah, it's an interesting session, just motivation wise, but also, like I said, it's a very very fun for me, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We'll jump back into your current role now with as a coach educator, because I'm interested to hear what that looks like on a daily basis. Like, who are you working with directly? Who feeds into you? Essentially, who are you educating?
Sure. No one. No. Yeah. So I'm involved with like the youth education, Youth B, Elite Youth A, and I've done sessions with the UEFA A license, pretty much everything except the pro license. I've done so, and there's like there's a fitness football fitness component, and there's the game itself, and then the football psychologist, like the different parts of the education, and and the football fitness part is like evaluation and analysis. It's more some parts of it are like complementary training, like strength and power and prep. What else is there? It's gotta check. Yeah, planning and prioritization. So different topics, but what I love about it, like, of course, it's education. What's not to love about it? It's really good, but like one of the main things for me is that we don't educate fitness coaches. We educate tactical coaches. So that's really like talking about integration of things. It really challenges you to meet them where they're at and to speak their language. And like I said, like I've always been a big on integrating stuff. Like I was reading tactical periodization before I even was through with my bachelor's. So like the first thing I got my hands on. This is how it's supposed to be, I think. So it really like to speak their language and make everything we teach them like relevant to their role. Because like the groups are very diverse. Can you say diverse? Like some people are working at elite academies, some are working at elite first team, and some are working at smaller clubs or even grassroots. So, and the grassroots guys, they maybe need they need to handle like the fitness components themselves. But the other guys at the elite academies, they have staff employed to do like the strength sessions and so on. But I think we got to a point where it's really we talk about football all the time. It's never separated. It's not isolated, except for the strength work. Maybe that's like complementary, of course.
Yeah.
But it's some really interesting discussions about like integration of analysis, integrating drill design, training design. Some brilliant discussions about those topics. Because still in Sweden and probably other places as well, you see when you think about football fitness, you think about GPS numbers, and that's like running metrics. It's like so many others have said. I think Martin said it also on your podcast. Like it's not a performance metric. It's not a KPI.
Yeah.
And people still think that you have to run more and then we'll win games. It just doesn't work like that. And trying to separate actual performance to physical performance. So we had some amazing, like my favorite things we do is like we have an assignment for them. They get to design like a drill or a session with a specific purpose. Like, and it could be a match day +1 or a match day +3 or match day -1. This is your context. You have, for example, 5 players who played 60 minutes and 6 players played 30 minutes. Design a drill on match day +1, just for example, how to get a specific output. So the coaches design the drill. We evaluate through a GPS, see if we get the numbers, the output we wanted, and taking it one step further is like also doing like video analysis. So we can see like, okay, you get a specific output. And again, like the reductionistic, like purely quantitative approach of just looking at GPS numbers. And in some ways, it's good. Okay, you want a certain amount of volume in high speed running or wherever, but still, are you just doing things, or are you doing good things?
Yeah.
Like, are you affecting the game in the way you want it to be affected, or are you just, does your meters per minute accomplish what you want to do? So you look at the drill design, you look at the GPS numbers. Okay, we got the output we wanted. Okay, then you take it one step further, look at the video, make it more qualitative. Like, okay, did the players actually press the way we wanted to press, or did we attack the spaces we want them to? Like, then you get the complete package, and I think that's where we want to go. And also, like, going back to like speaking the coach's language, that's how you make it relevant to them. Like getting football,
Yeah.
it's not this plus this plus this. It's like the unity. Can you say unity?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah,
that's,
that common language is really important, isn't it? And understanding, I suppose, from all different practitioners involved. I think it's really important. I love that as a drill. Love that as a task. I think that must be really effective.
yeah, it was really it was amazing, because you took them to it wasn't just like standing in a classroom hammering them with information. Sometimes you need to do that as well, but this is really like, you put them on the field, do what you do best, and then you get the feedback, and then we can discuss and like reflect on how can we have um, like design this drill differently to get a different output physically and quantitatively, qualitatively also. So that's one of the really good things. Like, you're forced to integrate everything, and that's very good, I think.
I think that as a task alone for any aspect of preparation is so important, isn't it? Asking yourself, are you actually achieving the thing that you're training for? And then also, is the thing that you're trying to train for effective? Like you say about distance or whatever we're looking at. That's when you pull in from technical coaches and other people as well to say, isn't it? Like, how are we going to be effective on the field? And let's start at that and then work back.
Yeah. And the environment also is so giving, because it's not just me. Okay, I can have an idea. Okay, this drill didn't work. It's not just me saying you can start the ball from there instead, or you can make the instructions different. Also, I have like 10 to 15 other coaches like giving their experience. Like, okay, I've done this in this way or this way. You get so much from that, being on the field, and actually like with ambitious and smart people just going back and forth, like just throwing ideas at each other. It's an extremely, I value that environment so much, because it it involves them, but also me, and very much so. I can just, like you said earlier, I can give them the tools, but they need to learn how to cook, or
Yeah.
um, you just fill their toolbox with stuff. We're not the ones to tell them how to do things, or how to make a Swedish reference, how to build the IKEA shelf, whatever. We just give them the hammer, or maybe not use a hammer for a shelf, but like the
I probably
screwdriver.
will because I don't know what I'm doing.
we give them the tools, and they learn how to cook, and then they have to reflect, and that's it's I love those sessions. They're very good.
I think the importance of it as well, but it sounds like you've got a really nice balance with it, is that you have that environment made up of people that are of not a similar mindset that everyone's thinking the same, but a similar mindset in terms of they're open. And like you say, they're ready to challenge people, but in a way that they can actually add. Whereas I suppose if you get a few people in there that are in there for the wrong reasons, that's when it becomes a bit of an issue, isn't it? But I suppose that's all around the environment that you create.
Sure. Yeah, you always get people that have a difficulties contributing in that kind of environment, but that's just the way it goes. And
Yeah.
hopefully they can take something back to their environment, um, and come back and a better practitioner from our my courses. And it's all about like, like the one thing, can you contribute, but one thing, can they like see what we're talking about? Can they zoom out to what pieces of this can I use?
Yeah.
Zoom back into their environment. Okay, this is how I can apply this in my context. Because like I said, we don't give them the recipe. We just teach them how to cook, hopefully. Yeah.
Which is so important as well, because you've mentioned just before in the roles that you've had, you could probably split every single role with every single club, with every single group of players that you've worked at. It's all going to be different, isn't it, for one reason or another? But the lessons have probably you've taken across all roles and developed them across all roles as well. So as a practitioner, that's super, super important, isn't it, to have that ability to be able to do that, because then you can apply these lessons in different environments, which you're going to end up in. You're going to end up in different environments, different circumstances. There's going to be times of the season that clubs are winning on winning streaks. They're also going to be on losing streaks. There's a hell of a lot that goes into this, isn't there?
Yeah, and again back to like mastering the basics. Just do something heavy, do something fast, do something explosive, play football, and happy days,
Yeah,
pretty much.
That's your book title.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's the book title, right there.
It's a good metaphor, actually.
It is. It is. Yeah.
You fill it with the knowledge you have, the books in your mind, and yeah.
There you go. Perfect. I referenced before when Dr. Sean Cumming came on the podcast, he spoke about the Futures program and some of the clubs and the FAs that are utilising the program. And he obviously mentioned the Swedish FA. So I thought I couldn't get you on the podcast without, I know you're not directly in charge of the program or leading the program, but I just wanted to get your perspective on it, just link it into Sean's episode.
Yeah. Great episode, by the way. Yeah, obviously the Futures program, we're very proud of where we're at. I think was it us and Belgium?
That's right.
And we had some brilliant results. We have a few players in the first team, national team on the men's side who's gone through like the future team project, if you can call it that. So, and like tying that into like the coach education also is like we a big part, I forgot to mention earlier, but a big part of the youth programs, so the youth educational programs, is talking about growth and maturation. So, and also like giving one thing, like giving coaches the knowledge about it, but also we have had an assignment, or really hands-on. So they had like you go to your academies, you do the Camis Roche measurements, and then you reflect upon like the input you get from our presentations regarding injury risk and so on and so forth. So I hope we are anchoring this with the clubs as well, because they are so important in taking steps in this project. And like you said, I'm not directly involved in it, but I try to affect the people I meet, and I think it's a big eye opener, like for a lot of people coming to our coaching courses, because also in my view, it's an absolute necessity, because we're not Brazil, we're not England, we're not Portugal. We don't have like that talent pool that we can just who talked about that? What's a podcast? I don't know if it's your podcast or another one where a guy went to Brazil and they just trained the shit out of people, and they had like 5 other people standing behind him with equal amounts of technical talent, and just you broke, next one in.
Yeah.
Was that you?
Was it not Callum Walsh on?
Yeah.
Was it Soccer Science?
Yeah. Maybe.
I think it was.
Yeah.
I could be wrong with that, but he's definitely got experience over there.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, my point is we're not like that. We don't have that kind of talent pool, so we need to like really get the most from everyone. We can't just kick people out of the academies because they're they're not physically gifted, or physically, if they're late developers, we need to retain them within the system, because we don't know who's gonna become like the next big thing. So it's really important for us. And I think it's in the best interest of everyone, like obviously the players and obviously the FA, but also in the clubs, because you don't know which asset you can sell in 5 years, or who's going to help out the first team. So I really hope that the message is getting like trickle down into the clubs as well, and they start working actively with the bio banding and all those things. So no, future team, I think we're gonna see a lot more from it, and people are doing some really good stuff already in that field.
You just mentioned as well about I suppose the topics or the subjects that you cover in terms of coach education. I wanted to dive into some of these now, because we've referenced on the podcast before, I suppose, the gap between coaches getting qualified to go out and get a job, but then the actual applied knowledge of being in that role, and maybe some of the gaps in that knowledge as well. So where you've just talked about, obviously, growth and maturation, biobanding, I know that's going to be a target, but what are some of the other areas that you focus on in terms of the education?
I mean, the fitness, football fitness ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we try to have, like, all the assignments we have, we try to link them to in a practical setting. So everything they do, they get to use. And some other topics would be like periodization is a big one. Planning and periodization, like they have an assignment to plan their whole calendar year and like the microcycle, and so they get to present that to their peers. That's a big one. And also like regarding strength training, they need to make a program and coach players and film it, and so everything we do, we try to step away from it being only theory and more practical. And like I said, with the Camus Rush, I was really happy with that one, because they had, like, I don't remember exactly, but you were supposed to measure like 6 or 7 players, and then we use like an Excel spreadsheet to find if they are late developers, early, if they're how close in proximity are to the peak high velocity, and from there, I think it was a big eye opener, just like going down, like if you're in the first team, going down to the academy teams to meet them and do these things like a way for us to spread the word is like them going to the academies, and so the interest can, like, how do you say, like the word is spread through them and not through us.
Yeah.
That they actually get to practice what we teach them. It's imperative, like, and it's always, like I said, with the example of the analysis, GPS analysis. If it were up to me, we would be on the field every single module of the courses, but they need some kind of input also from like in a theoretical point of view, and like that's maybe the downside of football fitness, because we tend to get a little bit sciencey.
Yeah.
And it's perhaps necessary to some point, but still big advocate of trying things out. And just from myself, I came from like the university I went to first. I think we have 3 years. I was like in the field with my with the university like 3 times in 3 years, and that's just not good enough.
Yeah.
I fortunately I got an internship like year 1, so I could always like apply and try. Okay, this doesn't work. Let's try something else. And another good actually example, like we also have like we call the DBA course. It's like the fast track for former elite players. Probably other federations have the same.
Yeah.
And the interesting part there to tie into that is actually like usually these guys have been former pros, maybe haven't been like coaching at any level. So they get in and they don't know what questions to ask, because they don't have like they haven't been in the war zone. They haven't like been on the field. They don't know which questions are relevant. And it's harder for them to learn because some things get very abstract for them, and they don't know like what are the demands on me when I get on the field. And you need that practical like experience to know, like I said, zoom out. Okay, where am I? Okay, zoom in again. Well, how can I apply this? So like learning your trade, that's what it is, it's what it's about. And we just learning to work with people, regardless if it's teaching them to do a squat or fill in an RP. It doesn't matter. It's just that's what it's about. That's the business.
I think that's such an important point. I think that in terms of experience, like practical experience, getting out there and working with people and learning on the job to a point. And I know that has to be done in the right environment. You can't go into a first team and try things out and see if it works, because it's not the right place to do it. But you've mentioned a number of times already on the podcast that places that, or environments that you've had that opportunity. And I know a lot of people have mentioned it before as well. But anyone that's been through any sort of education or course knows that if you have to deliver something, you're going to retain it a lot better, aren't you? Whether that's a coaching drill, like you've mentioned before, whatever it is, if it's something in the gym, rather than sitting down and talking about it, going and doing it is so much more powerful. So I think there's massive takeaways from that and getting people out there and picking up that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, like education is so important as well, because then okay, this perhaps definitely doesn't work, so I don't have to try. I don't have to invent the wheel all over again. But like you said, trying stuff out and creating yourself as a practitioner is best way is just learn by doing and failing a lot.
Yeah,
that's yeah, failing is a part of success. So
definitely. In terms of those areas that you cover, if you were to lean towards one as being like, this is one that coaches seem to either struggle with the most or just don't have enough experience with, they just need to get more reps in, essentially, what would stand out for you? Is there anything in particular?
Yeah, of course it would be like the strength part of it, like the complementary training. They don't have any, most of them don't have any experience in strength training.
Yeah.
So that would be one. But it's also the one where I find it hardest to find that integration I spoke about earlier, because, and also like a point that needs to be made is like, first, doesn't have to be integrated for all the, like if you're talking youth or kids, like it doesn't have to be. I think that the word specificity is kind of bastardized in a way, because we got stuck, and it's almost like a sales pitch nowadays that it has to be specific. It has to be specific to this or that. No, it needs to be relevant. And like for the youth educations we do, it's just play, have fun, crawl, do contact stuff, like play other sports, do whatever, But where is I going? I'm rambling a lot.
No, you're not. It's good.
I'm looking at the snow, so I get confused.
Oh, you got snow.
Yeah, we got snow. Actually started snowing now.
We've got the temperature for snow without the snow.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a shame. But no, what was I talking about? Yeah, the areas that coaches find difficult. That's probably the area that's hardest to motivate them to because they're not there to become fitness coaches.
Yeah.
Some of them need it. Like I said, if you work at like grassroots level or lower level youth teams, it's essential for them, because those players need that as well. Even if they don't have a fitness coach employed by the club, it's could be crucial for them. And what else do they struggle with? Like I said earlier, realizing or putting the fitness part in perspective. Like, it's, like I said, it's not a performance metric, but it's an easy way of evaluating something.
Yeah.
But just because it's easy doesn't mean it's right. And then, like for example, like we like in terms of evaluating training, and we talk a lot about like RPE, like a measurement of internal load. And I had this coach, like, not to put him down or anything, but he was like, yeah, well, what freshness score would you take a player out of training? I was like, what do you mean? It's like, if he gives me a 6, is that I'm gonna take him out of training then? I was like, no, we've gone off track here. It's not that black and white. It's like, if it's a tool for you to have a conversation. It's not, you try to make something so complex, something simple, but like, it's a false, what do you say? False dichotomy. You say false dichotomy? Like,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, it's reductionistic in a way that you try to simplify things, but it ends up being too simple.
Yeah.
And people are complex, super complex. So like, again, I'm rambling, but like, the struggles of using quantitative approach to inform your process can sometimes become more of a burden in some ways. But when you forget, like, the perspective of, these are still people you're dealing with, and you need to have a conversation with them. So some people struggle with that, actually, like you give them, like I said, you give them the tools, but you can't let them rely on the tools too much.
Yeah, it's not black and white. Yeah, and I know exactly what you mean with that as well, because anyone that's used that approach, and I suppose this was probably something that was used a few years ago a bit more. That if people did report on a wellness or an RPE a certain level, then it's like a red flag, and we'll take them out or whatever. Players know that then, don't they? So then you start getting answers from them that either aren't the truth, or they'll manipulate it so they can stay. They want to train, don't they? They want to play.
Sure.
So it just leads to more issues, that, doesn't it? But you're right. Like, that's one part of data, I suppose, that you're collecting that can be added to and given more context through conversation and everything else that you're collecting. So I think it's really important that.
Yeah, 100%. Like, yeah, going back to the IKEA shelf metaphor, like, if you only have a hammer in your toolbox, everything's gonna look like a nail, and the shelf is gonna look like shit. So I don't know. I'm reaching with these metaphors, but yeah.
I like it. I like it. What about any other projects with the FA? Is there anything that we've not covered that's exciting, that's fresh on the mind at the minute?
But yeah, actually, like, right now, I'm looking to start like a small project. Just not maybe project as such, but looking at, like, having discussions with other federations, what they're doing in terms of not so much coach education, but perhaps more what they're doing with their national teams.
Yeah.
So if anyone listening to this who works in the youth national team, feel free to hit me up. I'll try to discuss, like, what do you do before camps, during camps, after camps, to, like, see how we can evolve our youth teams. And I went to the FSI conference in October, and Chris Carling is with the French Federation, and he spoke a lot about how they project they do in research and development, and obviously I'm not comparing us to the French Football Association, but in a similar vein, see what kinds of questions we need to ask ourselves, or what our coaches need, and how we can continuously like improve our youth national team environment. So that's going to be an exciting one to dwell into, I think.
Definitely. Yeah, I urge anyone listening. I'm sure there's a few out there that will be in those positions. So yeah, 100% reach out. We'll put all Richard's contact details in the show notes. I know you're on some socials, which we'll go into in a second as well. So you definitely reach out, because that sounds exciting to pull from others as well.
Yeah, we can arrange a little network gathering of failed coaches who are now with the national teams.
Brilliant.
So,
Well, that was very insightful. So thank you very much for coming on. I think we've covered a few topics in there that we've not covered in other episodes. I think that was really cool to get into the work that you're doing around coach education, and obviously expanding on the conversation with Sean Cumming and the work that's going on with the Swedish FA as well. Just to finish us off, will you just give us the places that people can reach out to? Is there anywhere in particular that you direct them?
well, not that big on Twitter or X. So the best way to reach out is either by email or Instagram. I'm pretty or LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But I don't seem to get any likes on LinkedIn, so don't go there. You go to
No,
Women's and now.
you will now.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah. Oh, loads now.
That's good.
No, thank you very much for coming on. It's been brilliant to catch up, and yeah, we'll stay in touch.
Thank you so much for having me. Sorry about the rambling. Yeah, hopefully I didn't make too much of a fool of myself.
Not at all. Thank you, mate.
Thanks, mate.